In this video, we're going to introduce JavaScript methods, and we're going to use 3 built-in methods, which will be useful for the next set of exercises. So those methods are alert, prompt, and console.log. And I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit bigger here. One thing you'll notice is that I'm using JavaScript comments. Just like in CSS and in HTML, JavaScript has its own way of defining comments, which is just notes and things that don't actually run and aren't executed. So we use double slashes, and then whatever I put here won't actually be run. So if I did something like 5 plus 10, which normally would be 15, it just doesn't run it at all. So that's comments in JavaScript. I'm also going to show one quick thing here, which you'll see me do occasionally, which is clear my console. And I type the words clear and follow it with open and close parentheses, and I hit enter. And what that will do is clear my console there. So clear itself is something called a method. And we're going to spend a lot of time later in this class talking about methods and writing our own functions and methods. But at their core, there's some code that someone else wrote or that we wrote eventually, but for now, they're methods that come with JavaScript, or pieces of code that come with JavaScript that I can recall and I can run. So think of it almost as a variable. But rather than storing a piece of data like the string hello, it stores other JavaScript code which can be executed over and over. So there could be 100 lines of JavaScript that when I write clear are being called. Clear actually happens to be pretty simple, but there are methods that we'll see and that we write that will be pretty long. So the first method we're going to touch on is called alert. And alert is actually a little bit obnoxious. What it does is it pops up a message to the user. It alerts the user. So the syntax looks like this: alert, parentheses, and then inside of the parentheses, we pass in something that we want to be alerted. So I could put a message as a string like, hello there. And if I hit enter, I get this annoying pop-up that says the page at Google says, hello there. But I could also give it a number. I could have it do a little bit of math in there, like 19 or 198 times 345, and it will alert the result. So as I mentioned, it's a little obnoxious, but we're going to use it before we actually build apps that display things with HTML and CSS. We're going to build apps that just display alerts. The next one I want to show is similar to alert, except it's much less intrusive. It's called console.log. And what this will do is print something to the JavaScript console. So if someone doesn't have the console open, they'll never see it print. So it looks like this: console.log, parentheses, and then we give it something to print. So hello from the console. And all it does is just print out that text. So just like alert, we're really only going to use console.log early on in this class as a way of printing things to ourselves. So not printing things to a user. You would never expect your user to actually go into the console, but just for our own purposes. And then the last one I want to show is a little different. It's called prompt. And prompt is very useful for us early on because it lets us get input from a user. So I'll show you what it looks like. Prompt, parentheses, and then inside of the parentheses, we give it some text to prompt the user with. So something like, what is your name? And if we do that, you'll see it pops up something, what is your name? And then I can type in my name and hit OK. So I'll type something in here and I hit OK. And of course, it doesn't do anything with that because we're not storing the value. So the second part of prompt is that I can store it in a variable. So I could say var user name equals prompt. What is your name? And this will pop that up again. I can type something in there. I'll do Rusty this time. Hit OK. And now, inside of username, I have Rusty. So we're going to use prompts to ask users for input. And again, we wouldn't use this in a real production website, but for these early exercises, it's nice to have some variable input coming from a user. So in the next few videos, we're going to build some simple exercises that actually get input from a user.